I'd like, first you've noticed that the electoral board meetings are now videotaped. You just heard the record button. The link to the recording will be available on the Office of Elections Electoral Board Meeting Minutes website page within 3 business days of the meeting. If you do not want your image recorded, please hide your video. And board members, we don't have that option. Okay, let me call the meeting to order of June 4th. It's been an exciting couple of days here in the election office. And introduce to you on my left, your right, the vice chairman, Kevin Pinckney. Welcome.
Good to be with you.
And on whatever hand it is, whatever hand it is, Jeff Shapiro, the secretary. And I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Is there discussion of the agenda? No. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 That motion carries. The minutes of May 8, 2025, seems like only yesterday. Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt the minutes as written.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Appointment of election officers. We have before us the list of election officers, and it looks like our election officers are going to get plenty of opportunity to give the election officers. Is there a motion to adopt the appointment list of 40 Democrats, 7 Republicans, and 21 unaffiliated?
I move the adoption of these proposed election officers.
Is there a second?
I second.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. General registrar's report.
Already?
Oh, I forgot to mention the issue. Yes. Well, that took 3 minutes. The general registrar.
At least five minutes. As a point of privilege, I'd like to commend the chairman for running a very tight ship.
Well, thank you. Some people consider it a railroad.
Rubber stamp railroad. It's a tight ship.
Thank you.
So we start off, as always, thank you very much, with the stats. Nothing extraordinary. On the first page, we gained another 1,026 voters. Good for us. So we're at 802,000, including 41,000 inactive. And then we go through the numbers, what changed. And you can see everything is as you would expect it with the first 5 of the year. There were people that died. Go down to everything else. We go to page 2. Rest of the stats. That sounds terrible.
Something was wrong. Is it me?
I need to mute your audio.
That has a new computer.
That's true. I know.
Improvements are not always improvements.
So that was it for my report. So
Thank you very much.
page 2, more of the same. The voter registration additions, nothing extraordinary, 3,000 additions, 17,000 for the year. Transactions, we're just plowing along. You see, we have a lot of online EMV transactions, but consistent with the rest of the year. So I'll move forward if there are no questions about the statistics. Okay, the next is the mail request. We have approved a total of 45,592 mail absentee ballot applications. That includes 42,398 permanent applications. And going into the next category, 9,009 absentee mail ballots have been returned. That's not too bad for the size of an election. Pre-processing is being scheduled as needed. We won't have staff working unless it's necessary.
Could I interrupt you for minutes? Could we, for the next meeting, have some kind of evaluation of what's going on with the post office? I almost hate to say that with a straight face, but I went to Merrifield. I go to Merrifield monthly because I pay my bills by mail, and I insist on doing it at Merrifield because everything goes through your neighborhood otherwise. And they only have one deposit box, one pickup a day. They've done serious changes to the post office. And we're gonna have a number of elections that are gonna have number of mail-in ballots. Could we have a report maybe at the next meeting about if we're seeing any changes or how if it's going similarly to how it usually goes, or if we're in trouble in some way? Because I'm not getting much mail, and I'm getting mail in dribs in chunks at home. One day I get a lot, the next day I get a flyer about who knows what, then I get a lot. There's something going on in the region with our section centers, and I think we need to follow it pretty closely, if you don't mind, because we're gonna head into that. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Excellent. Well, and so we covered the mail. For the early voting, it has been a slow turnout. Not terrible for what it is for a primary election, single party primary. But we've made adjustments. We're gonna have the same number of locations. We're consistent. We want voters to know where to go, but we cut drastically the number of election officers. That's one thing we can cut. We're down to 5.5 at government centers. So we cut several officers. Flo and Bill and the team have been very responsive. And we have to have at least 5. You have 2 for curbside. You have somebody at one check-in, have somebody at the machines, and we're required to have somebody at the drop box. But we don't need to have, and we're able to adjust if we need more people. So we're trying to minimize the cost, minimize the staffing. And same day registration has begun and it'll be in place through June 14th. The books are closed. Then on page 4, election officer assignments are going very well. We've assigned and confirmed about 1,600 election officers. So we're in great shape there. And the last day to apply to serve as an officer is was Tuesday, May 27th. And in the training, we're doing a lot of in-person training. And I should mention, what we're doing is the highest level. Robbie and Sean and his team, fantastic. We're gonna talk a little bit about the special, not much, but about the special election later. But we won't have, it's gonna be a very tight time frame. So what we're able to do for most elections is all the online training. It would be much more difficult for a special election, but we're doing fantastic training, many classes. The logic and accuracy testing is almost finished. We have a DS950, that's the high-speed scanner, so it has to be tested, but the other 2 are tested and functioning well. And then there was some questions.
Time to use the DS950 for this.
Yes. And so 2 of them have been tested. The third one still has to go through the testing. That's going to be, I think, tomorrow. And so all 3 will be available. We may not need to use all 3 of them, but they'll all be available for this election. And then the new voting equipment, I know came up, there was some discussion in the last meeting. My experience has been, you would expect to get something brand new and it functions so much better than the past. But sometimes that first election, you have difficulties, just like you might have some minor problems with a vehicle or anything else that you buy. The key to me is we haven't had a single problem with the counting as we've tested every single piece of equipment. They count well, their performance is well. It's more a screw is missing. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but it's something, the hardware, it's some sort of the handle. There was a question, I think somebody, it came up about keys. In that case, it was a user problem. Keys in a couple of cases were breaking because you got to press the key in before turning it. So it's it's learning the new machine. That was never the case. So there are some things, the machines are slightly different than our old machines. But this just gives you a little bit of information so far as we've got a little chart down here. The numbers we've received 700. This is just the DS, the actual scanners. The numbers are small, about 5%. They've been very responsive. Important parts, we pay nothing for repairs. That's part of our warranty. We pay nothing, every single machine. In fact, ES&S came yesterday to go over everything. They've been incredibly responsive. And that takes me to the next thing. I didn't put it in the report, but we're also scheduled to get new, and we've talked before about the new express vote machines. And the new express votes, we expected to get in July. And the state was supposed to certify them on May 27th. The state delayed that until July 1st. I didn't even include it in here because with the state certifying the new express vote accessible machines July 1st, if it occurs then, if it's not delayed, the thinking was we could still get them in July, accept them, test them, everything until yesterday, until the governor called the election for September 9th. which is the last possible date it could have been called for, unless it was, November. And that means that early voting has to start on July 25th. There's no way that we could get the express votes in July and do everything we have. Oh, I'm sorry, when you get the express votes, you have to update every single piece of equipment because they all function together. That's a process that takes at least a few weeks. We don't have a few weeks because before July 25th, we'll have plenty of time now because we're not going to, the choice is we're not going to get the new equipment. We're going to postpone, we'll get it delivered, but we won't put it into action. That is the safe route to take. So we'll have it, we'll do acceptance testing, we'll thoroughly test it. But it would.
Will you have it for the general election?
We will not, we'll be using the current express votes. We won't, because there won't be a window. What's going to happen, there won't be time in between any election. We won't use it if there are special elections after November, which there very well may be. We'll have to wait until after that. We're confident that we can use it for the next June. And again, this is not our choice. This is not optimal. But we have to deal with the hand that's dealt us and decide what is the, and I seriously consider trying to push it and use it for this special election. That would be a mistake because too much could go wrong.
Let me ask you, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
Tell me about all the things that have to, so we'd have to test, change everything in this, everything we own essentially, to change it and then test it.
Yeah,
Because we use it.
so think about two paths. The path one, and I wanted to use the new equipment, there's a lot of money out there for it. But path one is we use the new equipment. That means in addition to everything that we ordinarily have to do, all of our logic and accuracy tests, well, setting up the ballot, and then all the logic is burning media, setting up, doing the logic and accuracy testing. In addition to that, before any of that began, we'd have to do acceptance testing on 650 accessible express vote machines. And we'd have to update every single piece of equipment because the 700 that we just got recently, the
When
scanning.
you say every single piece of equipment, you mean every single voting machine or
Every
Scanner?
Oh,
all the scanners,
yeah.
everything?
the 700 scanners and the 650 accessible machines. And additionally, it gets worse. Again, not bad if you have plenty of time, but also our server where all the ballots are created.
Uh-huh.
That would have to, and unfortunately, that has to go onto the new server that we get when we have all the equipment. Right now, we're just using our existing server. When we get all the new equipment, we have to go to a new server. You can't just transfer all the data. You have to rekey everything, every precinct assignment, everything that is associated with any ballot, all the languages. It took more than a month the last time we did it. There's no way that we could, and again, all of that would have to happen. Now, we could do all that with the new server, which is where we create the ballots. At the same time, we're updating all the equipment, but that would take at least a few weeks, even if we're working 7 days a week, which we'd be happy to do. That would have to happen before we could do any of the logic, prepare the ballot or do logic and accuracy testing. And again, the time period between July 1st and you don't even have till July 25th, you have to have everything at least a couple days before the early voting. And even if it's just, that's early voting at a limited number of locations, but still, even if you only need 10 machines, you have to have everything in place. So we wouldn't have to have all the testing for all the machines, but you'd have to have the ballot. You would have to have updated everything. So the window is just, and again, it's out of our control. The one thing that's out of our control that and again, this is all assuming.
That's what I was gonna
They
say.
approved-
Have they actually certified this stuff yet?
They have not, and so they moved it from May 27th to July 1st. They have provided no explanation why they changed the date. So I'm not confident that it'll happen on July 1st.
We've been through this certification dance before where we ran very close to not having to, so.
And can I take you through? That was a very I wouldn't say impossible, but a very unwise course to take. I seriously considered it. The other is there are a lot of time constraints just with keeping our current equipment. We finished this election, and of course, certify this election, and don't have a lot of time, but we can do everything that's required using our current equipment, which includes the brand new TS300s. We prepare the ballot, we do logic and accuracy testing, we get ballots. it's a small window to get all that done before July 25th, but we can do it with confidence, just like we always do it. It'll be difficult. This election, September 9th. Another difficulty will be early voting for the next election starts September 19th.
Right. Can you clarify, what is the new equipment that we can't?
It's the express vote, the now express vote threes. So it's the accessible machines that
Is that just the thing when you go in and you want to express,
very few people use them. They're primarily for visual impairments.
yeah, I've used it. I actually, not visually impaired, but I actually, I like it, but most people don't use it. Anything else? The
That's
poll
it.
book, not the new poll book?
That's it.
Oh,
I should-
so we're just talking about not using the express vote machines?
Yeah, and separately, but again, because of the time constraints, thank you for bringing up the poll books. We believe we're gonna have to delay for one election. We're definitely using new poll books for November. But again, because of time constraints, we didn't see this. We don't think we can get delivery of the new poll books in July. But we don't think we could get them ready in time to
For the
start.
special election,
No.
that makes sense.
But we
Yeah.
can do the poll books for November, which is precisely.
Okay, so we're just talking about the express vote machines. Yeah, that's not even a close call. I mean,
I think that one of my big concerns here is we're even talking about possibly using something that hasn't been certified yet. And I've had too many years' experience with the certification dates slipping and slipping and slipping. And I don't know why that happens, but it always happens a little. But it may happen a lot and it's already slipped. And I think if this is what we have to, it's better to run a safe, accurate election than to not be able to, have people voting by, marking
Well, and
things.
another point, I look for a silver lining, which sometimes is more difficult. But in this case, we were probably gonna be, I think, Robbie, we were gonna be the first in Virginia to use the new express votes. Now we probably won't be. Who wants to be the first?
is there a prize? I mean,
No.
okay.
Well, what are the deficiencies of the existing equipment that led for us to decide upgrade?
They really
Do they
don't.
still work?
They work just great. In fact, the company suggested we could have just replaced the scanners. That was essential. That's what gets the use. There are some improvements, but no, we could have kept, but the county prefers replace everything, treat everybody the same, have everything is brand new equipment. And I think that's the optimal thing to do, but there are no great deficiencies.
So if there are no great deficiencies, then we're gonna use it for the primary, which we're using it now, and we're gonna use it for the special election, and we're gonna use it for the November election. And it sounds like there won't be time between that if there's a domino, depending on who prevails. Then we may not use it until next spring. And it's still good for another year. Why don't we cancel the order? Right? We have these other budget constraints now that there's this special election, there's gonna be another special election, right? I mean, if they work just
We
fine,
already paid for them. The county.
let's send them back.
Well,
So,
Right? I mean,
so here's the
I'm just
thing.
raising the issue. I'm not.
Yeah,
opposing it.
and what I would
Right.
say is, we're on this cycle, like this stuff was 10 years old, right? We're on a cycle, we got budget money. It's time for a new upgrade.
It's capital expenditure.
Yeah, just postponing it doesn't really help us, then we'll have to deal with it, I don't know. 10 years or else, maybe we do it in 2.
This,
We're just, once we get them incorporated. One thing we could ask for is an extension of a warranty, since we're not using it the first year. But I don't know if they have to agree to that, but
Well, I should tell you this, the company has been great. We have a long-time relationship and we already got 6 months at no cost because of the way other things, the delays, which are no fault of the company. They have been very good and
okay.
we'll get a 1-year warranty that will begin whenever we get the equipment.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So we'll
Okay.
get the full 1 year.
Can we tell them to deliver it next February?
We could do that.
Because that would have the
Yeah.
effect of extending the warranty.
That's the only
I'm a
thing-
big advocate of this equipment because
Yeah,
it's got more
because
languages,
languages,
right? It's
that's what
got
I
30
was gonna
languages.
read to.
It's got
Yeah.
more than.
Oh, good.
This is the one
I'm
I
eager
took
to
you
have
all
it.
to see this at
Now, I should say
the-
that,
But-
I should say, I want to save money. That wouldn't save us money because we have to pay on the current equipment without getting too far into the weeds. What we'd like for the company to agree to is to deliver the new equipment, since we paid for it, and us keep our existing equipment and not charge us anything extra. If they agree to that, it's like the best of,
Otherwise,
it's the best of both worlds.
let's,
Right.
I
But so
think our
we're,
message to you is do the best you can.
Yeah,
with the delay.
I think we can delegate this better,
Yes.
to take it home.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's, I think your decision making is very
Good.
sound.
Yes.
but then it takes us to the page 6. There's a little bit about the special election. You may already know that on the filing deadline for candidates is July 11th. First, it was just called yesterday. And then, as I said, the primary, I mean, the early voting will start on July 25th. And we'll, yeah, I don't really have, we're still looking into it. We don't know about the early voting. We're still researching. So I don't really have more to say about that. You don't?
I have a couple things to say. This is gonna cost some, there are two things going on. There are a lot of people asking, when is the primary? The primaries are, the nominations are done by the parties in this case, not by the, not by this office. So there is no public primary, but there,
For the special?
for the special.
Okay.
I'm talking specifically about the special.
Okay.
As you all will recall, we had what we have for the June, whatever the next Tuesday is, 26th, the June 26th meeting, we had a number of precinct changes that were in the works and that were in the, have already been advertised. Now we run too close and make too many changes too quickly. So what I think will go forward with the Board of Supervisors is they will continue to do the changes in the 8th district. All of it, I don't know how the board package will be structured. But the Marshall split with Shreve, the Huntington, establishment of Huntington and Montebello. Of course, Virginia Hills has to go forward because there's no longer a facility there. And so those will go forward, and then there are two address changes. That one will be pulled because we won't use it. That's the, I guess the Franconia address. We'll still be using the older Franconia building. This is another one that didn't get done on time.
Yeah.
The idea was that they were supposed to be out of there in the summer, the Franconia Governmental Center, which we use as an early voting. Well, they're not out. So we had advertised a change of that you have to put the early voting sites, so we won't change that. The 11th district won't go forward in terms of the Cameron Glen, rest and all of that, the code split. Green Spring is just a change of name. It does not take an approval, so it will go forward. And Green Trails will not go forward. So essentially, to put that in a better order, the 8th district precincts are not part of the special election. So that there won't be any confusion. They can go forward. They won't have people voting at different places at different sequentially. The 11th district ones will be pulled except for Green Spring, which is just a name change. And so there won't be those splits. Every month we come up with a different thing about this, but that, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, is that for the general or this election you speak?
it's for everything. They will not take action because we run into timeframes to get approval. Some of these take Attorney General approvals, the splits. And the 8th district ones still have the long time frame because.
Yeah, we have enough plot to have those
Yes,
made
but
now.
it's all the schedules run together really bad one.
And-
And so,
So
yeah,
Kate, is it the case that the domino effect of the special and then the
Yeah.
general and then a potential further special will delay for?
I don't know when they'll come back to this, but it won't be, it'll probably be early next year. For the
Because we have to
11th.
have enough time to give the notice and to go through the process, and there's
These
not
are,
enough time to do it.
these are ordinance amendments, and so the Board of Supervisors has a length of time also built in that you have to advertise and then have the public hearing. So, but besides all the requirements, it's also probably not a good idea to have voters voting, 1 week at one place and another, to move them around without with a short notice like this to get approval. So that's the update. On these.
Still on the special election topic?
Sure, let's go for it.
Okay, so what is the estimated cost associated with the special election?
I don't have that calculated. A regular, it could be close to $1 million. It's for everything. I don't have an exact number, but that's, of course, we have to staff. It's gonna be 2/3 of the county, so less than that, because it's not, yeah, so probably 2/3 of that roughly, maybe 700,000. It's just, but that's a rough number. I can get a better number, but it's for staffing the polling places.
One of the interesting things about this one, and I haven't counted the precincts, but the parts that are not in the special are the parts that you were talking about, the Camerons, a lot of little precincts.
Yeah,
And inside the Beltway, the older little ones, our big ones are outside. Our smaller ones tend to be in. So the number of precincts may be higher than we think it is that do not have an election here, and I haven't counted them. Because in people, it may be reverse, but in fact, the number of precincts, it's gonna be a lot of precincts we're not using because they're small.
and so a corollary is to reconsider having, I guess, normally we would have 3 locations open for 45 days, although the South Government Center won't be open because I presume we won't use the South Government Center because it's in the 8th district and,
Exactly, the
right?
Mount Vernon, yes,
Yes.
I would think.
I would propose that we not have it open for early voting for 45 days
Let me propose this, if on the special,
on the special. Yeah,
that
I'm
we
talking about the
only
special.
use the satellites that are in the 11th district.
Concur.
Okay,
I so move.
Yeah. I'll second that.
Okay,
discussion.
The one thing I want to hear, I just have a question, Eric, is that $1 million marginal cost or are you allocating some of the overhead?
Yeah, we'll have to request additional funding. And which
No,
we,
no,
what
it
do you-
means the cost,
In other words, the cost that you incur, like your salary is unchanged. You may, are you allocating some of your time to that 1 million?
no,
Or is this just like out of pocket marginal cost?
out of pocket, and to put it in perspective,
Okay.
for a countywide, this is gonna be closer, I think, to a general election than a primary election. But let's say we have 1,500 or 1,600 election officers, that's about $400,000, right, Robbie? The largest cost by far will be election day, which is nothing we can do about it. It's a minimum. Also ballots.
that's why I made my comment about number of precincts is gonna be higher than you think it is, that we're not using, because they're the little ones.
right.
And the cost is the machinery and the moving and the big precincts are more efficient for us.
And one thing,
Maybe not.
with the early voting in all elections, with the early voting increasing, that enables us a little bit to have fewer officers on election day. It's not a corresponding reduction by any means, but that's the cost. The largest cost is for election day.
The motion on the floor is that our satellites be those in the 11th district, the ones, and remember, satellites have to be in the ordinance. So we can only use the satellites that are already in the ordinance. We can't change those.
But can we decrease from them? Like there, can we do it
Yeah,
with?
we can
yeah.
decide not to use the
All of
ones in
them
the.
that are
8th
approved,
district,
yeah.
So the motion is to use the satellites in the 11th district. Is there more discussion?
Friendly amendment, would you say as needed?
Well,
Did you say?
Well, I
if
think
you
we
look
should
at it,
choose to use them. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but the one, I think we should deal with this issue and then I want to deal with separately whether we have this building. Is it North Government Center? I don't know what it's called.
It's North County.
Yeah, North County Center, whether to have that for 45 days, the same as the central office, or to have it on the same cadence as all of the other satellites, and we can talk about.
That's a separate issue.
I think we should deal with that separately.
Okay. I apologize.
About-
It says I'm about to be signed out. Something's talking to me. over
Let's
here.
vote on it.
Yes,
Yeah, let's
okay, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, the motion was to use for the special election, the satellites in the 8th district,
11th district.
11th district. Yes, okay. Now, let me did you have something else on this?
So the next concept is how many locations to be open for 45 days? By law, we are required to have one, which is
Well-
downstairs.
That is officially the registrar's office. That's not a satellite for us. That is a registrar's office. We count that because we get away with that because it's the same address. Otherwise, we have everybody trooping through up here. And we have done that, and it's not a lot of fun because we get lines around the block up here. So that's satellite. That's not a satellite. That's one we have to do.
So that's what I'm saying, by
For
step,
45 days.
yes, but we satisfy the law by having that location open for 45 days.
Yes.
And the question is whether we discretionarily wish to have North County also for 45 days or to have fewer days. We've been tracking, the early voting right now. And that's the question. For this special election only, do we want to have North County open the same days as all of these satellites?
I would posit that we do. Because it is, it is, when you look at where the satellites that we have, exist, for when they come up later. We're missing a big chunk of of the Vienna Reston center of the county that will ever have people voting early. And the North County is in the precinct that is so overcrowded that we have to work with the homeless shelter. And so that particular precinct votes about 50% early voting at North County. So I would think that we would want to leave that 45 days there.
Could we trim it to 30 days? Could we trim it to 15 days? I mean, 45 is a significant amount of time and a significant cost. Although it's only one
Well-
location, so it's maybe not as
Yeah,
significant.
I mean, how much marginal cost is there between 30 and 45? Equipment gets moved in, so it's just
That's right.
staffing.
That's the question.
Well, why don't we defer this until we'll meet in, what month is this, June, July?
Yeah, we'll meet
I
in-
think it's to our point that we've made over and over again, that when we start changing hours, we confuse people considerably. And we're going to have that one open 45 days again before the general. I do think this turnout is going to be more like the general, that this is not a primary turnout. This is a general turnout. This is a conversation that I think from the voters' perspective, we may want to have for during a primary, particularly when no one knows who they're voting for in primary. But for a congressional general, essentially a general that's a special, I think we should be consistent.
Well, and I'd love to change it and be consistent and change the 45 to 30.
That's a
Or change the
different
45 to 20.
conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really,
Going forward.
I'm not wild about going down to 30, I don't think we're gonna save that much money. And it just adds to the complexity of the voters figuring out which days are which. It does, involve less staff time, so maybe there's an advantage there. I would ask the registrar if he has any views on this.
I can see both sides. But for this election, I think the strong point is, it's not a primary. That it's gonna be, I think it's probably gonna be more like a presidential primary, which is a much larger turnout. And I know that, I tell you this, the county, when they've given us the funding, we've gotten a lot of funding for satellites. Equity is very important to them. The people in a different part of the county that couldn't get here at the government center. So I think the county's preference is that we not cut for large elections in particular.
Sorry, I'm trying to interrupt. I need to swap equipment for 1 second. So the Zoom's gonna go down for about 30 seconds as I swap a laptop real quick. We had an unplanned Windows update trying to force itself in.
Let's take a commercial break.
So
Yeah,
give me 1 second and we'll be right back.
I think we should recess. Well, we're not on. We'll recess.
We're in
or White House to the rescue while the EB meeting is going on. A Windows update comes forced through and is about to bounce us off. So he's got to reset things.
Is this, what is this you're doing? Oh, okay.
It's the electoral board meeting.
This is way too much fun. I
Here we go.
don't
Okay, we're
know
back.
what's going on.
Gary, you're not muted. We can hear you, Gary.
Hi, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Can he hear us?
Yeah, but you won't have all the terms. If people get elected that don't hold office.
There you
Okay, I think we can gavel back in.
We're back in business. Sorry, everyone.
We have reconvened after an equivalent. Your set does not need adjustment. We're back on air. Shall we move on from the,
Do you want to address the 8th? and the
I will,
11th?
but
Okay.
so I'm moving on
Oh.
back, I'm going back to this. To be clear about what will probably not go forward, well, we're recommending not go forward at the Board of Supervisors are the 11th district changes to Cameron Glen and Reston 1, the 11th district changes to Coppermine and to Coast, and the 11th district changes to Green Trails. That's a very small one. The name change of Green Spring will go forward because it doesn't require all those approvals. It's simply a name change in the building. It will not go forward. The 8th district ones that will go forward are Franconia, the Virginia Hills Center. There's no building there anymore. That's just an address change. That's no lines of precinct change. We're just moving the voting place. The Huntington change will create Montebello as a new precinct, assuming it's approved by the Board of Supervisors. And in Providence District, Marshall High School, which is one of our largest precincts, it may be our largest precinct, will be divided in a smaller division so that, and it's actually closer, part of the neighborhood will be moved into Shreve. Shreve will continue to exist. It'll just get new folks. Does that clear it up? Thank you. Okay. All right. Anything more on the special election?
I'm sorry, go ahead. Sure.
Go.
I understand that there are going to be party primaries going on, but there's also potential for independent candidates to submit paperwork. Those applications will require ballot endorsements. What's the word? They have petitions like ballot petitions.
It's a hard one. I can get that one too.
I forget a lot. But so the ballot petitions. So we'd like to avoid missteps on the processing of ballot petitions. Can we ask that there be written standard operating procedure on how those ballot petitions will be evaluated to ensure that each of the mandatory things under not just the code, but the administrative code as well, that we verify every data point so candidates will know if there's been a misstep?
We can do that for this election, since it's a federal election, they'll go through the state.
Oh, yeah, they get submitted to elect this.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we'll revisit that in 2 years. Okay.
The only thing I wanted to say is, after hearing the registrar, I think if we change one satellite or whatever we call these, North County to 30 days, and not, and have the other open. I think we do create even possibly the perception of unequal access. I think we should probably keep it the same, either both 30 or both 45.
May I respond to that?
Yeah.
So we have satellites that are open for 8 days. Right? And we have 15 of them or 13 of them. And we have these anomalies that are open for 45. So my proposal would be not to change it to 30, but to make North County the same as every other satellite.
Well,
Right, so it's not creating, so I understand the confusion point. The idea is you're reducing confusion. Head office is 45 days. And anyone who wants to vote 45 days in advance in person, not through absentee ballot, they can come here. And then all of the satellites across the county on an equal basis, because people who are proximate to North County or people who are proximate to South County, suddenly you're treating them unequally by giving them access to in-person voting for 45 days, where everyone else in the county, it's inconvenient to go to one of those three places for that almost 45-day period. So if you really worry about equity and equal access, you would say all the satellites should be the same amount, because then they're giving opportunities for everyone to
Do
vote.
people perceive this office as qualitatively different than the satellites, like
No.
a different animal?
No, but by law, we're required to be.
But I'm just talking about the perception of the voters.
hang on a minute. The reason we started doing that was when we only had this one open, albeit it was in 2020. We had a line to the street starting at the 45th day. And it was incredible chaos. It took more people to handle that number of people than it would to handle them at the two places, because we had to have line monitors and people out there working the line outside, and we had to have public and safety outside because the traffic, now we have building going on outside. And that's why we switched to that's why the board at that time added two more to keep from having this enormous crush here. Would we have that same crush now? I don't know. But that was the reason. It was really a huge.
So, and that was during COVID, you said 2020.
2020 was the election.
So this is an artifact of COVID. I'd say let's no longer.
Is that a motion?
I move to make that change to have satellites, all of them, including North County and South County, all operate on the same schedule.
Well, South County is not operating.
Well, for the special election, it wouldn't. And we can cabin this to just the special election, but I would say on a going forward basis, let's treat all of the satellites the same.
Oh, so your motion is not just for this one,
But-
but that our
Yes.
two, oh.
But if that's too broad, it's going to fail, then I would say let's do it for the special election, and get our feet wet. But, COVID we're done.
Then, nice try. There's a motion.
For the special or.
The motion is, which is the motion? For
So,
the special, for
Let's,
November? Or for everything from now till the end of time?
well, I think because the special was not budgeted, it's particularly compelling to do it for the special, treat all the satellites. So I moved for the special election, treat all the satellites on the same schedule. And by satellite, I mean everything that's not in this building.
Guys, for lack of a second. Okay, next. Office personnel.
Oh. So unfortunately, Gretchen Coleman lives in Arlington, which is much closer to Alexandria than it is to Fairfax County. So Gretchen, we're gonna miss you. She's been outstanding. She's leaving at all time. She's leaving next 7 days before the election. They want her there very badly.
We want to remember that.
But I used to work there, and it's a fine place. And we're gonna miss you. We're hope the best for you. You were fantastic. And then the next thing is, I know words in recognition. Jose, we call him Gabe, is going to be recognized June 10th. He's a fantastic. Is he here today? No. But that's another award. Just to add that to our list of awards for our staff, I tell you.
Well, that's great.
Well, it's not really our staff, and I think we should talk about this. This is one that we have had to take over
Oh,
from the Board of Supervisors handed it to us several years ago and said, here, do this. Because the office across the hall doesn't want to do it. And it really isn't our table either, and I would move. I have to hand it off to somebody, and you're the vice chairman. I would move that we ask the Board of Supervisors to find another home for this, because this is a volunteer award primarily. And we are not set up to do what the county needs to do for us to make this happen. And it's an award, it's like all the other county awards. And we don't have, it's very difficult. And I would move that we ask the Board of Supervisors to either assign assistance for us in a way with the process of how you do awards, or to assign it with the volunteer award, the people that do volunteer awards.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so discussion on the motion.
Yes.
So this is something I've been confused by when I go to our website and the electoral office's website, and before we relinquish, we have many pages to volunteer. Do we have non-page volunteers as well in the electoral process?
we have individuals who volunteer, yeah, on pages.
And that are not officers of election, but we have.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I thought you meant election officers. We have individuals that volunteer, they don't get paid as election officers, and they're not pages. Pages are just through the high school.
Right, right. But there are non-high school student volunteers that don't get the stipend.
Correct.
Well, but some of them, that's a little bit different than this, because some of them are retirees of the county and they can't get paid because they're paid by the county. And so if you're going to work as an election officer, you have to do this for free. If you're either a retiree or a county employee, because you're on the payroll. Go figure.
So in all of that, do we like the idea, or if we relinquish this, did we have any role in the selection of this individual to pursue this award?
No.
Would do we going forward?
Yes, we have to put together our role. In other words, it can't be the people in our office. It has to be the Board of Supervisors appoints a committee. And the committee elects a chair. And we put applications in the supervisor's offices. And they send it out to whoever they send it out to. And then Beth has been staffing this now. And that committee chooses, we're just staff to the committee. And it's volunteers.
All right, shall we vote? Is there further
Well,
discussion?
what's the motion again? I forgot.
The motion is to ask the Board of Supervisors to reconsider where
Oh, yeah,
this is
okay,
assigned.
got it.
So, yeah, so we're providing the staff for a different committee, and we have no effect and can't direct this award to someone who's working
Yes.
elections, which is what I'd love to do.
Yeah.
Well, the way I see this
All right.
is we're punting and moving something that's not really part of our core mission out back.
I love that commission talk.
Yeah,
Yes.
we've got a core mission here.
All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. The ayes have it.
Okay.
All right.
And FOIA's, the numbers are not tremendous yet, but we're responding very, all deadlines, all requirements. And the final item, referrals.
May I,
I'm sorry.
FOIA, can we just confirm? I've heard reports of email confirmations for FOIA requests. We talked about this last meeting, there should be an automatic, yes, we received it, we'll reply. I've heard reports that is not automatic, that there have been instances where a FOIA request went in, there was no automatic reply. So can we just maybe court us to double check the technology, make sure that process?
Yes. Thank you. And the final item is our monthly referrals to the Commonwealth's attorney for individuals that were identified by elected as possibly being non-citizens. I'd like to cancel the voter registration records for 82 individuals in May who they found were possibly non-citizens. And one of those individuals re-registered. Two of those individuals have indicated that they were registered in error at the DMV. They didn't want to register. And one individual moved out of state. So that reduced it to 78 individuals that we refer to the Commonwealth's attorney and the Attorney General. I did also receive we haven't received any responses from the Commonwealth's attorney until several weeks ago following last month's referral. And it was almost verbatim the response that we received when we first started this whole thing. So it didn't really say much, nothing new. I haven't responded to yet because I'm conferring with getting legal advice, but it's just doesn't really say anything different than what we've heard before. And I would say separately, we had a question at the last board meeting about the process at the DMV and with online registrations. How were non-citizens treated? Is there a red warning or anything like that? And to our understanding, we did respond to that. And to our understanding, we believe that we've been trying to get in touch with DMV. And also we've tried to get Elect to help us with that. Elect has indicated they have difficulty getting DMV for a meeting. So we're continuing that pursuit. But meanwhile, I can't say 100%, but we have no reason to believe the non-citizens or individuals who may be the question was non-citizens. We don't think there's any kind of warning, any kind of signal. We think everybody's just treated the same. And the key is if somebody doesn't check anything on the affirmation of citizenship, or if they check no, that's the flag. But we don't think, and there are different, oh, you have an example?
Yes, the form. You have the DMV form.
So we think there may be room for improvement in the DMV. Of course, that's not in our purview, but we will continue to try to get a meeting with DMV. At the very least, we're trying to work with Elect, but beyond that, that is the answer to the question. We do not think currently there is any kind of warning, except there is what is on the form.
So it's still the case, as it always has been, that if you check nothing, you're considered a non-citizen.
Well, and again, I want to say that's
Not nothing. If you don't check either, let me be clear, then you're considered a non-citizen because you didn't affirmative.
Check where? I can't even
On
find
the top. On the top, all the way on the top.
at the
Didn't you
top.
say it?
Oh, are you a citizen?
Yes, by the clip. They give it to you on a clipboard and the clip covers that top section, so you don't even see
That's genius.
citizen.
That, yes,
Okay.
Bruce
so,
found that out when
here's
she
the-
if that were up here and this were down there, it would, but that, yes,
Okay,
that's,
here, okay.
thank you, Bishop.
Yeah, thank you.
It's above the headline. Okay, any more on that? Okay, I think we're through with any other questions for the registrar? Okay, electoral board reports. I will start with the secretary.
I have nothing for you.
You have nothing for me. Okay. Vice Chair.
I have no new business.
I'm not in the business.
All
I'm
right.
not electoral.
I got no reports either. I'm jumping
Okay, you
ahead.
got nothing.
This meeting is for,
I have two reports. One is I had a cheerful chat with the chairman of the school board who said that their policy is going to take care of this from our problem of having teachers and cars and students and all that on election day, on general election day. But it probably will not apply to specials and those kinds of things because they can't, we don't know what that is, but he said that's gonna be taken care of. I will be at the school board, not for this, but for something else on next Thursday night, and I will be sure that that's confirmed. So I didn't write a nasty letter, I just had a different chat.
That sounds more effective.
Yes. The other thing, and it's come to my attention and yours as well, that we have lots of different sign rules going on in the county. We have sign rules where people can put political signs out on certain roads and they have to pick them out, pull them up on certain days. We have sign rules. The school division has sign rules, which I think are different than the ordinance, which also has rules. And in line with our discussion about having, these are not rules that we enforce because they're not our rules. The only rules that we enforce is that you can't put signs within the 40 foot. But we also have a situation that we should be aware of where some of our private facilities require us to tell the precincts about where you can put signs. The churches will tell us where we can put signs, those kinds of things. But I would like, if it's without objection, to have us collect all the signs. I guess not all the signs, all the rules, all the signs everywhere, all the rules, all the different rules that people are operating under. So we have some idea of what's going on out there. Because I think we're going to discover, particularly with the school division, that there may be different sets of rules, different understanding of different sets of rules, and from different parts of the system on what the rule is. Did I do that? Okay.
That sounded great.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
Yes.
So,
If I might,
and if you could share your files on that, we would appreciate
I
it.
will, I could populate the school board thing. It's more complex than you just
I'm a
described,
simple soul.
because federal lands are, and we have Fort Belvoir, we have a road to Fort Belvoir. And then we have, if we have national forests or national parks or national monuments, the Forest Service drives some of the rules, the Department of Defense drives some of the rules. The school district drives its own rules, the county. There's a potential that the library has different rules than the rest of the county.
Yes,
The county
there
parks
is.
have different rules, and then there's the street, the VDOT. And there are roads that get patrolled and signs get removed, but they come by on a specific time. So if you time it right, you can get it up for 4 days. And
May
then
I
have
give
it
you a
illegal.
hint?
Yes, so it's a mess.
Don't wait till the medians are mowed before you put your signs out. I don't know this.
So I second your motion that we ask for that compilation, but I'm certainly happy to populate the piece that deals with a couple of pieces that I've done.
This doesn't have to be done by next week. This
Yeah.
is, this is just something that we need to know because we're all getting a lot of questions about who can do what where. And about signs. I'm not suggesting that we're going far afield on that answering those questions. But we don't enforce them, and we really need to know who to tell people that do what the responsibility is. And it's going to be even crazier as we have more and more elections all at once. So we'll see. I think to your point that we have some assumption that everybody in both of our big operations, the county and the schools, knows all the parts of what the sign rules are, and it's pretty clear to me that that's not the case. So we need to get all of those.
So would the deliverable be like a one pager? that
A
has like
list, so we
a
know
list
who's.
with
And
the
also,
rules?
also so that we can say to either the county about its ordinances or the school division that part of you think this is the rule and another part of you think that's the rule. I'm willing to not have that. It won't be a cheerful chat with the chairman, but it'll be an education chat with the chairman of the school board to say we got, and the county, that there are different parts of the county with different rules. I don't think anybody realizes that.
Sheriffs too. The sheriff's office, if I may.
Yeah, well, yes, go ahead.
So they used to send out their crew and pick up the signs. I know that because of the McLean Government Center. And they don't do that anymore.
We'll speak with the sheriff.
And they were
I think
contract.
I think there's a reason for that. It's a different sheriff. But yes.
Well,
There's a new sheriff in
Yeah,
town.
right.
Yes.
And they contracted with the private company.
Chambers, like,
Before you saw on your signs.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, they were using one of the landscaping companies as a contractor that would drive down all this. I mean, the county maintains a website with a map of all of the roads on which The
Good.
landscape, no, the landscape. On VDOT land, it's not permitted. But the county enforces that only on major thoroughfares. And they
Yeah,
hire a
yes.
third-party landscaping company and they'll go ahead and sweep them. People who live on those major arteries, who have signs in their yard, sometimes have the landscaping company sweep them because, you know, where's the center line and how far back from the median, et cetera. It's property rights and
And
you,
I don't want us to go too far
Let's-
into this because we're not gonna enforce it. But we will get, when we have multiple elections, we will get a lot of questions and we just need to know
Yeah.
the answers.
Okay.
And who to send them to, and if we can sort them out and send them to them and say, do you all know this is going on? I'm willing to take that on. I don't want to make a lot of work for the office. We
Well,
just need a
how is
list.
this cheat sheet going to help us? Like,
Because,
it's not gonna
because
be linked
right
to the-
now, I can tell you that people have proof on election day that they have permission to do something that somebody else says they can't. And so it's an information problem.
But does the list have to be linked to the geography? Like,
No,
it's just, who has authority over it?
first
Yes.
we're gonna get his file.
so I would envision
Okay.
FCPS. Who do you call? What are the FCPS ordinances? You have the regs, because they're all online. US Department of Defense, right? Here's the rule. Some people were pointing the Hatch Act at me because I had a sign on the road through Belmar, right? The Hatch Act just doesn't apply. But people are trying to understand what the rules are. So if you have just a one-page
Is there
cheat
still a
sheet.
hatchet? No.
Yes, of course. Right, but just a nice one-page cheat sheet that says, okay, these are the rules.
All these people.
Yeah, and I ultimately, the parties, this is a resource that the parties could develop independently, or it would be available to them, because ultimately the candidates are the ones who care. But you also have people in the community who get very upset
They
if they have a
call us.
perceived, there is.
Okay,
it
so
creates range.
we're gonna take this resource and circulate it to the parties
Yep.
and have it here
By the phone,
by the phone,
by the
Wherever-
computer.
wherever the phone is. Okay.
It's your phone.
Is that does this rise to the level of a motion versus?
I think you seconded it.
I've seconded it, so
Whatever the motion I made,
Okay.
he seconded it.
All right.
All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, that's all I had. Do you have any, you didn't have anything?
I have
You
nothing.
didn't have anything? Okay. New business.
nope, I have
The new, old business?
I had one thing for you.
Old business.
I just wanted to follow up. Is there an update on the issue raised a couple of board meetings ago with respect to individuals who had a fee due along with their election campaign finance filings or delinquency and a fee due because of delinquency? Has there been progress in those individuals making payment?
You're talking about the delinquent
Yes.
accounts from, that's, we had a meeting with the, with legal, our legal team and with the, representative from the answer is there's no development, but we have been, pursuing it further. It's not in our hands at the moment. It's in the state's hands.
Well, yeah, okay.
Anything else? Okay. Public comment. For those of you in the room, if you want to make a public comment, please raise your hand to be recognized. You will come to the podium, identify yourself, and if you represent an organization, tell us about that. And as you know, you have 3 minutes. If you're online, please make yourselves known to us that you want to say something for 3 minutes. Is there anybody in the room? Good, we've been so clear today that everybody understood everything we said. Good. Online?
Megan.
Maggie?
Megan.
Megan?
Hello, this is Megan Challender, Chair of the Fairfax Democrats Voter Protection Committee. I may have missed it, I hope not, but for the special election on September the 9th, that is a school day. what is the plan for schools being opened or closed or for places serving as polling places on special election day?
On special election day, the schools will be open. We have done that unfortunately, we've done that before, and that's what happens on special election days. Because we're now too close, it's the second week of school. So we can only put that in the calendar on the elections we know are gonna happen. Thank you for asking. Anybody else? Okay, we need to go into closed session. I have so many papers to read. I move that the board enter a closed session to discuss personnel matters as permitted by the Virginia Code 2.23711A1, including the annual review of the general registrar as required by Virginia Code 24.2109.1.
I'll second that.
Discussion. All those in favor of the motion?
I just want you to clarify for the public that that there will be no
I
business.
will. I'll get to
Oh, you're
it.
gonna, oh,
That's not-
okay,
Hang on.
okay, all right.
All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The only business that could occur after this, and it could occur, is any personnel relation, but there's no other business. The evaluation of considering the registrar, there's no other business on the agenda. We will come back into public session to close. Okay, we're in recess. In accordance, we're
Where's
back
the
in
gavel?
session. In accordance with Virginia Code 2.2-3712, I'm asking the Secretary of the Electoral Board to conduct a roll call vote to certify that to the best of each member's knowledge that one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act were conducted in the closed meeting, and two, only such public business as was identified in the motion for the closed meeting by which the closed meeting was convened was heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting of the Electoral Board. That roll call vote shall be recorded and included in the minutes of the Electoral Board. Mr. Secretary, will you call the roll?
I will call the roll. How do I do that? Just how do you, can you,
You think we are agreeing that?
are you
all
in
those
agreement
things-
with me?
Just say confirm.
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 Okay, Chairman?
I
Emily?
confirm.
I will confirm.
Okay, we're back in open session. Are there any business matters to come before the board out of open session?
Is this my
Yes, that's
cue?
you.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion. Stop me if I say.
No.
You know,
do this. Pretend you're in court.
in closed session, we carefully reviewed the registrar's performance for the year as required. As a result of that careful review, we have determined that the registrar's salary for the coming year will be higher than it was last year, based on excellent performance. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that in public.
Yes.
Okay, and so the salary for 2025 will be set at 205,040. And we feel that this salary reflects the complexity and the size of the county and the operation run here, as well as the tremendous success that we've had in the previous year and we expect to have next year.
Okay, for the motion.
Yeah, we need a
Is there a
second.
I
second?
second that.
Is there further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries unanimous. Is there a further motion or are we adjourned?
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor of adjourning,
Aye.
please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Okay,
Thank you.
excellent.
Thank you.